we decided to engage with our people once more before we draw down for the Holy Sabbath, which our ancestors called Izuike, Nkworu, or Ekuku. Izuike Nkworu, or Ekuku. One gentleman has come to my attention. His name is Dr. Charles Apoki. He's among the very decent Nigerians that know that if the Igbo people were appreciated in Nigeria, Nigeria would have become a paradise. And he doesn't hide it. Charles Apoki is one of the few Nigerians that know that if the Igbo people were wanted, were accepted, were appreciated, Nigeria would have become a paradise. So I have when I see him talking about the Igbos, he's different from the people that want to lure Igbos and use them to build huge social media presences and cash out. Lazy people who don't want to work, who see social media as every month they get $50 and $30, and what do? They flatter the Igbos jump in, follow them, they become social media rock stars. Apoki is not one of them. He's a successful medical doctor and entrepreneur, and he is a man of justice. He knows that the Igbos are simply hated because of anti-Semitism. He may not call it anti-Semitism because he has not studied the things I've studied. He might call it Igbophobia. But I want to say that I disagree with him on just one subject. And it's a contemporary one. He said that the renaming of streets in Lagos, the renaming of streets that already have Igbo names, the renaming of these streets to Yoruba names is backward, primitive, and retrogressive. In countries like the USA, the European countries, Israel, Japan, Korea to some extent, let's include Korea there. Korea is developed. In developed countries, what he's saying would make sense. And let me qualify here. A Ghanaian that spoke recently about Nigeria shocked me. He said that Nigeria is unlike any other country in the world. That initially he was thinking that Nigeria would be similar to Ghana. But he was surprised that every Nigerian, I'm quoting him, the Yoruba sees himself as Yoruba, not as a Nigerian. The Fulani sees himself as a Fulani, and to some degrees an Arab. The Hausa, the same thing. The Kanuri, to some extent. That he was surprised that nobody sees themselves as Nigerians. The Igbos see themselves as Igbos too, but they behave like Nigerians. So it's actually so many countries that the strongest is trying to convert to an empire. The militarily strongest. And these nations, I repeat, Nigeria is so many countries in one. And these nations sometimes are polar opposites. They are not coming together. They are simply being held together by force and corruption of the elites. So, I disagree with Apoki. The Yoruba person has a right to protect his identity, and his ancestral land is a core part of his identity. Lagos is part of the Yoruba identity. The Yorubas have a right to say what the name of the identity should be. Igbos will not like this video, but I have to say it because people get into trouble when they don't know the truth, and when they don't know the truth because you fail to tell them the truth, you are responsible. Igbos over-invested in Lagos. Every ethnic group will feel uncomfortable with what Igbos did in Lagos. Igbos simply began to act as if they had become Yorubas. Began to buy land with reckless abandon. They've done the same thing in Abuja. They've done the same thing all over Nigeria, and it is wrong. It is wrong. We all know that the federal government of Nigeria has a policy of scattering the Igbos. So they deny that area of all sorts of development and militarize it, Igboland, so that the Igbos will keep on running. But what the smart people do is they look at measures you have put in place to destroy them, and they act against those measures. And for all we know, the Igbos are always boasting that they're smart. So why haven't Igbos come up with solutions to this problem? There are times that they have moved away from home, not necessarily because of those measures, but simply because to move has become the tradition. To move has become the end. It's no longer a means to an end. I all remember when we came out of law school, my father, a very great man, was thinking about my setting up my law practice in a part of Igboland. And if I had done that, I would have had a very good life. I wouldn't have known all the toils I eventually passed through in my life. But because it was the tradition for people to leave home, I left, went to Lagos, and yeah, the rest can be imagined. It was not a good life I had in Lagos and in Abuja, but it was the tradition to leave. So what am I saying? The Yorubas will be doing the Igbos a very big favor if they make it clear to the Igbos that you are strangers in Lagos, so that the Igbos will begin to look towards Igboland before it is too late. Because I do not know if Igbos even know that these lands they are buying everywhere is just for 99 years. I don't know if they think it's forever. And before landing, I will say again, no native population is happy to see foreigners come in, buy all the lands, prosper, sleep with their women, because usually the native populations have less motivations to work extremely hard because they are already at home. So what happens is that foreign group that comes in works harder, prospers more, and something tragic happened to the Igbos. The Igbos forgot to be humble. So even when they have not prospered, contrary, unlike who they are, unlike who they were, you see them living ostentatious lives, becoming unnecessarily flamboyant, showing off wealth, and this aggravates the native populations. Already there is resentment. I will call a spade a spade. Already there is anti-Semitism, which could be latent in a lot of cases. It could just be dormant. It could just be waiting until some elite comes and wakes it up. Like, I will not mention names so that in order not to get people unnecessarily inflamed, when Azikiwe came back and started the effort, he started it. It wasn't Macaulay that started it. The effort to free Nigerians and Africans from foreign rule. A Fulani man wrote that anybody that is saying that anybody else from Nigeria also started this movement with Zik is telling a lie. That the people from the other regions rose up to oppose Zik, to oppose Azikiwe, not to oppose the British. And those same people incited their own peoples against Azikiwe and the Igbos. So Igbos, be comforted, it's not late, but start looking homewards. Start looking towards Igboland. Stop investing outside. Let's become creative and think about how to develop that place. I do not believe that the government machinations alone have stopped it from developing. When Goodluck Jonathan was in power for 5 years. Igbos were there with him. Why didn't those Igbos that were there with him think of that seaport? They didn't, because they did not think it was important. So we will continue after the Shabbat. And if you are able, forget about your pride. Observe the Shabbat. It is your heritage. As much your heritage as it is also the heritage of the Jews. It is your heritage too. It is your what? Your heritage.